Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 22 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 113 today for the Imola Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the previous one at Monza with back-to-back Italian Grand Prix here in Season 7, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one, because we had a very fiery beginning to that Grand Prix, and we got sweet, sweet revenge on being punted off by Charles Leclerc by coming through with an audacious strategy, going long on the medium tyre, facing the tyre wear, and going straight to intermediates to take victory and glory for our second win of the season at Monza. And it means going into this second Italian Grand Prix of the season, we lead the championship now ahead of Lando Norris. The first time we've really had this sort of cushion and P1 in the standings, but we know how ever-present and consistent Lando Norris has been, and others as well. Mick Schumacher not far off, only 3 points back. Drugovich and Hulkenberg level on points, and then a further 3 back is Charles Leclerc. Our teammate Hamilton a further down in P7, but even he's got a very important part to play in this championship with regard to the Constructors' title, because although maybe Hamilton can't get back into the title fight, barring some miracles in the next couple of episodes, we do have a Constructors that is very highly contested. You know, both the Vettel Rennsport cars of Schumacher and Drugovich, they've just been there in the top 5 of the standings the entire season, and it means it's very difficult to single-handedly take the fight to them. I need Lewis to bounce back and be scoring some more decent points. Of course, he was the first man in this team to get 2 wins when he won at Spa just a couple episodes ago, so I know it's in there. I know Hamilton can do it, and I'm going to need him to try and find some of that performance he had at Spa in these last episodes to round out this final season on F1 22. And like I alluded to last episode, we need to make the most of these 2 Italian Grand Prix where we know historically the My Team car has been pretty strong, because there are going to be more difficult races coming up to end the season where others, our rivals, may be just flat out quicker. So we need to be picking up as many points as we can and making the most of it. But right now we're getting through qualifying on the Friday, of course, as this is a sprint round, but unlike in real life in 2023, we've still got the old sprint format. So qualifying sets the grid for the sprint race on the Saturday, and that sets the grid for the full fat Grand Prix on the Sunday. So Friday qualifying here, the only qualifying of the weekend, and trying to place ourselves as high as we can for the sprint, which of course does give out a couple of points, not too many, but still going to be a couple of crucial points, and those crucial points may decide the championship by the end of it. You just really never know. And thankfully, just like in Monza, the pace is looking pretty darn good around Imola. We top Q2, Hamilton up there in P4, but both Audis make it through, with Tsunoda showing strong, but Fernando Alonso, a big standout in the Andretti so far ever since he had that mid-season transfer to the American team. His more junior rookie teammate's been outdoing him, but this time he's finally got to grips with the Andretti that he used to drive a couple of seasons ago into the top 10, along with both Vettel Rennsports, the Williams, and one Repsol Haas of Oscar Piastri. Hulkenberg does not make the cut, as those two keep on struggling for that power dynamic in the other American team on this grid. But now it's time for the top 10 shootout. This is where it really matters. You may have noticed that we've got the engine icon in orange on the bottom right. Nothing to do with our actual engine components, just our gearbox that is a little bit worn out, and we're just going to have to deal with that and hopefully don't suffer any kind of gear loss in the sprint or the full Grand Prix, but may well be a chance of that as we're just on the end of our allocation for the gearbox. This first flying lap in Q3, bit of a banker, but there are some clouds coming over, so there might be even a little bit of rain, so this needs to be a decent one, but it's also been a messy lap for us across the line, and we're only P3, Hamilton close behind in P4 ahead of Tsunoda, but looking at that lap time, we definitely have time to gain in a second run. Unfortunately though, as we come in to the pits on the in lap, back into the garage, getting ready for that second run at the end of the session, our DRS has failed. It's failed whilst shut, so we basically don't have any DRS available. I went to the garage and there was a little timer for 30 seconds that was meant to fix the DRS, but as soon as I came out then for the out lap for my final flying lap in this session, my DRS was still broken and won't be opening. I thought the little 30-second countdown for, you know, usual repairs when you're in the garage, I think that I was hoping that would permanently fix it, but it has not. So this has suddenly turned into a bit all against me in this qualifying session. We're down to P9. It wasn't a great banker time. It was a bit tentative in places, and now I'm overdriving the car, trying to find the time that I didn't gain on the straights, you know, with 3 DRS zones in this Imola GP that we've got in Season 7. We're losing so much time in all these zones where you would have that rear flap open. You can see I'm so overdriving the car, trying to wrestle it through the corners, pick up some time, and in the end of it, we go 5 to 6 tenths slower than our already slow banker lap time, and in the end of it, it is misery for us in the top 10 shootout. It's not all doom and gloom. Of course, it is kind of good that the sprint race sets the grid for Sunday's race in this game still, because it means I can get up the order for the grid on Sunday and still score some decent points in the sprint. But for that sprint race, Lando Norris, shock horror, is on pole position alongside Leclerc. Hamilton up on the second row in third place, showing where the car should have been. We're 6 tenths down, and about 4 tenths of that is going to be from the DRS. The 2 tenths making mistakes trying to overdrive the car. So it was looking so promising through the whole qualifying day. Unfortunately, at the last hurdle, the car just failed us at the wrong time with DRS. It is what it is. But we have a chance to redeem ourselves immediately in the sprint race here on Saturday, and obviously set ourselves up well for the Grand Prix. So there's still a very good chance. Hamilton showed there's pace there, and hopefully the DRS doesn't fail us in the race. We can make up positions. The only concern really is going to be that very worn out gearbox, you know, in the 60 to 70% region. I think after 70%, potentially there might be a few issues with a missing gear here or there, but we're going to just have to find out as we go on through the laps. So here we go then, as we look ahead to 5 red lights for this sprint race at Imola. From P10 on the grid, it's lights out and away we go for 11 fast laps around this circuit. And it's going to be a bit chaotic in the run down to turn 2, as everyone's going to be bunched up with 3 wide. Fernando Alonso on the inside, Tsunoda going down the inside, Leclerc having a go at Hamilton to maintain his P2. Lando Norris keeps the lead of the race from pole position. We've got Alonso, and we're trying our best to get Felipe Drugovich on the left-hand side. Tsunoda got pinched out, and he's actually fallen back down to P9. Drugovich comes in with the dive bomb of the century on the left-hand side. We had to turn out to give him the room, as he wasn't having any of it. He wanted to be on that inside apex. We had to give him the room, but instead we'll get him on the climb up to the hill and get up into P7. Already pretty good progress into the points for this sprint race, of course. And P7, I mean, I would take that for the grid tomorrow, but I think there's more to come. Norris leads the way from Leclerc, Hamilton, Magnussen, Piastri, Schumacher ahead of me in that top pack, and we have now got clean air in P7 to chase after that pack. And I'm hoping, as does happen very often at Imola in the first few turns, if they're going to start fighting, then that's going to help us close up into that top 6 fight. As Tsunoda tries to overtake Drugovich on the inside. Audi versus Vettel Rennsport car. Tsunoda committed through the next left-hander and is going to get up into P8. Drugovich struggling for a bit of pace. Schumacher, to be fair, only in P6, so the Vettel Rennsport cars have work to do and clearly just aren't working very well in recent races, although they keep managing to score enough points to stay in the constructors fight, and both of them have been consistent enough to still be there in the championship order in the driver standings. But we make easy work of Mick Schumacher up into P6, showing how much pace the car has. Norris feeling the pressure though for the lead of this sprint race in P1. Leclerc had a little half look round the outside, didn't work out, and that's allowed Hamilton to close in. The top 3 separated by just about 3-4 tenths of a second, so it's super close, and we're now officially in this pack in the top 7 in P6, looking to do some work on Oscar Piastri, who sticks to the inside line, so we'll have to go round the outside of turn 2. It's going to be Oh, big squeeze from Piastri. We have to go off onto the rumble strip. And the sleeping policeman, thankfully no damage to our underfloor. But Piastri stern with his defense. And Schumacher now is all over me and trying to emulate what his teammate did on lap 1. Look at the mirror. He comes into the inside. Not as quite fully alongside us as Dragovic was. But the difference is on lap 5, Schumacher now has DRS, whereas Dragovic did not on lap 1. And Schumacher flies by up the hill just before the brake zone and is up into P6. But we are going to come right back at him. But this fighting is not going to help us get up to the top 3. We need to just, well, as we fly by Schumacher, we need to make that stick now, as Hamilton is now down the inside of Leclerc. As we go through that next sequence of corners, the blind camera work didn't pick it up, but Hamilton slung it down the inside of Leclerc. Leclerc was too busy looking at Norris trying to get P1 and has ended up losing P2. So the Audi still leads the way after 6 laps of this sprint, but Hamilton, our teammate, is now up into P2. Leclerc down to P3 as Schumacher continues to keep up with me annoyingly as Piastri makes quick work of Magnussen, as we have actually been told Magnussen has some sort of mechanical issue slowing him down. As Schumacher comes for this end, we're going to switch back it right from left, easy as you want. Very slick move to re-overtake him. And whilst we were doing that, Lewis Hamilton, look at the ladder, look at this screen, leads the way. He's overtaken Lando Norris. Must have been at the same time as we overtook Mick Schumacher, but he's got damage on his front wing. This is the replay then. It's a big send, and Norris does not want to give up the position. Hamilton doesn't either, and that is just where the contact was made. Just that little, it's not even a big hit, a very subtle little bit of contact, but that shears off the end plate for Lewis Hamilton, the right-hand side. Norris, I guess, wasn't expecting Lewis to go down the inside. Hamilton was so committed to that corner, and that's really unfortunate. In a sprint race, you don't want to make a pit stop at all, so that's Hamilton's day ruined, and that's going to really make tomorrow very difficult indeed, of course, as we now watch Schumacher overtake Magnussen to get up into P5. Magnussen actually has car issues, we've been told, mechanical issues, so easy work for myself and Schumacher to get past, just in the same way Piastri did. And speaking of Piastri, he gives us a big old squeeze to the grass nearly, as he doesn't want to give up the inside position. Meanwhile, Leclerc and Norris are side by side into the next few turns to battle for the race win here, and we can now get involved because all of a sudden we're in this top 3 fight. Piastri's there as well, so it's a top 4 fight for the race win and the top 3 positions for the medals in the sprint race. Meanwhile, behind Magnussen is just a mobile chicane blocking people off with that mechanical issue he's got. Dragovic on the outside up into P7. Tsunoda all of a sudden looking pretty solid in P6, to be fair, for Audi. That'll be a great grid slot for him in tomorrow's race. The two Andretti's doing well also, just to be inside the top 10. Yellow flags at the end of lap 9 on to 10 as Verstappen is out of the sprint in the Ferrari. As we're chasing after the top 2, Leclerc right up the gearbox of Norris, but the Audi blocks him off. Can we make a move on the right? No! Leclerc cuts across us. Norris is off as well. We go straight across the gravel trap to try and get back on circuit. Piastri flies through into P2, but we've got no front wing. Leclerc took our front wing cleanly off, and not for the first time. It literally happened in the last Italian Grand Prix, just gone at Monza. Leclerc has made contact with us, and this time it's even worse. No front wing, and all of a sudden we're down to P6 because every corner the turn-in's abysmal. But we've only got 1.5 laps left of this sprint, so I don't even think it's worth pitting. But this is the replay from Leclerc behind him. I mean, what is that? What is that? He just swiped across. I know he was trying to make his own move on Norris, but you think you look behind you, see what's going on. I went for the gap that was clearly there, and from Norris's on board, you can see that swipe for Leclerc. It's almost like he wasn't even trying to overtake the Audi. He just wanted to block me off, but instead he did even worse. He just sideswiped me and broke my front wing. It's his own fault getting stuck behind the Audi, but then just swipes across. Norris actually locks up himself all on his own and goes into the gravel, dips a tyre in, and that's how he loses the position to not only Leclerc but Piastri as well. But into turn 2, the last lap of the sprint, I've decided not to pit because there is no point. Even though I've got no front wings still, I may as well struggle and hobble along to try and secure a higher grid slot, because if I pit, I'm going to be stone dead last for tomorrow's Grand Prix. Russell passes us, Magnussen trying to pass us, but at least at this stage now, with only one sector to go, I'll still be able to maybe start inside the top 10. Magnussen really trying. I mean, he's got his own mechanical issue, I think, still hampering him, but we're going to try and hold on to as many positions as we can. Ironically, out of all this, Leclerc wins the sprint race. We have a horrendous left-hander as we have no downforce on the front. We lose nearly three positions as Alonso gets us in the final corner. It's going to be a P11 in the sprint, no points, and will be P11 for tomorrow's Grand Prix at the start on the starting grid. That's at least better though than last place, so that's why I didn't pit. It was actually not worth pitting. Sonoda gets driver of the day. To be fair play to him. He actually had a very solid sprint race there to finish P5 just behind Lando Norris. But Norris locked up all on his own. So he had a howler, to be fair, to lose P1 and eventually go down to P4 in that race. But I cannot believe that. Hamilton with damage. He's going to start P21 for tomorrow's race. We're P11. And the man who took out my front wing is rewarded with pole position for tomorrow's race and the sprint win and the maximum points there on Saturday. I'm so frustrated by that. There's nothing else I could have done, barring letting off the throttle and giving him all the room in the world to work. What more could I have done? I was fully inclined to go to the right-hand side because there was literally a corridor of space there whilst Leclerc was stuck behind Norris. And at the last moment, he swipes across, trying to go for a move on his own, doesn't realise where I am, and breaks my front wing. And he's ended up winning the sprint race because of that. So Leclerc bringing out all the kind of underhanded tactics here to try and gain the most points on his rivals, it would seem. Vettel Rennsport, as ever, consistent. Schumacher, Drogovic recovering positions. Schumacher did so well to recover in that race up into a top 3 position, so they now lead the championship by 1 point to us at AAR Archer Racing. It's super close between Haas, Williams and Audi. In the Drivers' Championship, we still lead, but the gap has come down due to those lost points as we score 0, and now we're starting P11 for tomorrow's race. But we've got the bit between our teeth because I want revenge on Leclerc. Not necessarily in the same way, I just want to make sure we beat him tomorrow and try and maximize our position, but it's going to be tough. You saw DRS was very effective in that sprint race, as it will be in tomorrow's race. Let's go to the grid for Sunday.
Welcome once again to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. The clue's in the name. This is very much Ferrari home turf, and the locals will be out in force today to support their team in what we hope will be a magnificent spectacle of motorsport. On then to the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. One lap of Imola, anti-clockwise of course, unlike most Formula One circuits, will take our drivers round 3.1 miles of track. 19 turns, 9 right-handers and 10 to the left. Drivers will need to be precise at the hairpin at turn 7, given the subsequent uphill section. Without a good exit from that corner, they'll lose a lot of time on that stretch. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Mick Schumacher, Norris, Yuki Tsunoda and Drogovic, Russell, Sargent, Fernando Alonso, the owner driver, Liam Lawson, Hulkenberg, Kevin Magnussen, they've taken a grid penalty, and Sainz, Perez, Ricciardo, Alex Albon and Max Verstappen, Théo Pourchaire, Gasly, Hamilton, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Robert Schwartzman. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for today's race. Let's have a chat about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
So not a great day in the office yesterday for AAR. Hamilton down the order with that damage. We effectively start where we started on the sprint race in P10 because of a penalty for someone. So we've been elevated from where we finished in P11 in the sprint race to P10. So on the medium tire, it really does feel like the sprint race all over again. P10 on the medium tire, but no, it's the full Grand Prix. And this is where all the points are properly on offer today. But we've got some tough competition, some surprising competition. Both Andretti Hondas ahead of us. Logan Sargent and Fernando Alonso. Leclerc, the man who took off our front wing, is on pole position alongside Oscar Piastri, who benefited a lot from the chaos in the sprint race to get onto the front row. A lot of people starting on the soft compounder tyre. I've decided to go onto mediums. Reckon from the tyre where we saw in the sprint race, I think the medium is going to be the much better race tyre going the distance into that first stop of the race. But we're going to have to see. But there's going to be some pretty quick people around us then on the softer compound as we go to 5 red lights for the full Grand Prix here at Imola. Lights out and away we go. Alonso and others with a very good getaway off the soft compounder tyre. Russell joins me in having a slower start on the mediums into turn 2, taking it easy but also wanting to be aggressive to pick off some pieces if we can. We get Russell, we can't get Alonso. We tried to follow him through, but even he couldn't overtake his teammate Logan Sargent, who does very well to be in P7 still. Leclerc still leads the way, I believe, looking at the minimap, in pole position as we dive down the inside of Alonso, pretty much taking a leaf out of Drugovich and Schumacher's book from the sprint race, learning from Saturday's race and implementing that strategy of our own into the driving as we overtake Alonso by diving down the inside of that hairpin corner before the run up the hill to get up into P8. So progress made already and more to come versus Logan Sargent. He may be on the soft compound, but the Andretti is definitely a slower car, so he should be able to make this overtake. We're going to try and do a bit of deja vu here. We tried to mimic the overtake we did on Schumacher by swinging it from right to left to undercut his racing line. Instead, we have to do it around the outside there, and Sargent goes over the sleeping policeman curbs and gets spun round. He just compromised his own line too much by not backing out of it. There was no contact made between me and him, and he's made an error, obviously maybe one that you would expect a rookie to make in Formula 1 as he is this season, as we now see a whole gaggle of cars ahead of us on lap 3, and one of them is the nearest man to us in the championship. Lando Norris been squeezed out for P6. Tsunoda, his new teammate for this second half of the season, is ahead of him. The two Audis side by side making a bit of contact, but Tsunoda reigns supreme in the Audi team up into P4. Drugovich got back down to P6. He was initially ahead of Norris, and Norris is still trying to have a go, and now Leclerc is down the order. What's happening? Leclerc has gone from P1 to P4 as we overtake Drugovich in all that chaos, and Norris now round the outside of the man from Monaco, and we're going to get involved here, and this is a little bit awkward now. We're side by side with Leclerc, watching Norris go through into P4, and we are going to swipe across just like Leclerc did, but unlike him, we're going to know where our car is and just simply block him off and solidify this P5. But in a matter of, just 2 laps, Leclerc has gone from P1 down to P6. Surely he has some car issues or damage or just horrendous tyre wear maybe for the Williams car on the soft compound. But right now, Tsunoda and myself trading fastest laps. Norris not looking too great, to be honest, in this race. On heavier fuel, Tsunoda looks like the more comfortable Audi today as we make light work of Norris to get up into P4. But almost immediately, we're now in a 3 wide moment on the next lap because the DRS is so effective here. Drugovich on the outside, Norris on the inside. We're wheel to wheel with the Brazilian to try and stay ahead for P4. This is a ferocious battle brewing as the Vettel Rennsport car comes back at us through the next left and right on the outside. Norris just watching this battle unfold in front of him. Drugovich with a huge dive, even worse than the one he did in the sprint race, because we literally had to bail out of that, otherwise that would have been a front left bit of contact and front wing damage for sure. So Drugovich really getting the elbows out today, and Norris brake checks us up the hill as well. So both of them being aggressive, maybe frustrated with how their races are going so far, and so we're relegated back down to P5. But Drugovich clearly wanting to get a move on and show the pace he's got in that car, because in the full Grand Prix with heavier fuel, the Vettel Rennsport cars are looking looking very well because his teammate Mick Schumacher is leading the way now because Leclerc has dropped off the face of the earth. For certain, he must have some damage or just, you know, that Williams is so horrendous on tyre wear because I don't even know where Magnussen is at this point of the race. Lap 10, we've overtaken Norris. We're trying to close up to Drugovich. Myself and him are on the mediums, but it won't matter. It won't matter what tyre we're on because this safety car has come out for a retirement of a car somewhere. I think it was Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull potentially. I can't quite remember. But we're in now. It's going to be a double stack with myself and Hamilton. But, of course, Hamilton, he started on the last row. He's been recovering in this race. So he won't be impeded too much by having to come in on the same lap. But, yeah, so that safety car is probably the worst timed safety car for us ever. Because for the likes of myself, Drugovich, Russell in the top 10 on mediums, that safety car now has nullified that strategy advantage. Because all of us, whether we were on softs or mediums, have pit onto the hard tyres that will go to the end of the Grand Prix. But it's Schumacher from Piastri, Tsunoda in P3, the lead Audi, Drugovich, myself, Norris, Alonso in P7 in the Andretti, and I believe both Gulf Porsche Williams cars are outside the top 10. Both of them absolutely rubbish on the soft compound tyre, and that's proven to be their downfall. And I do still think Leclerc maybe had some damage potentially, and that's how Schumacher got into the lead. But lap 13 on the restart lap, basically, we're trying to get some heat and grip into these hard tyres. Norris all over the back of us, and we're losing time. We're 1 second now more back behind Felipe Drugovich because these AI are so good at getting these hard tyres into a working range off the safety car period, off the pit stop basically, and we're still trying to get these tyres rubbered in. But now finally, lap 13 on to 14. Seems we've got a good enough exit and we've got plenty of ERS to try and eke away from the Audi and close up to the top 4 packs. Schumacher still leads, Piastri there, Tsunoda quite close behind, Drugovich is now closed up. It is a top 4 fight. Oh, there's a crash! Schumacher's off! Schumacher's in the wall and he's been taken out by the safety car? What's the safety car doing on circuit? It's not even flashing its lights. The safety car is out on circuit, but it wasn't called out. What on earth happened there? Schumacher was leading the race for most of this one ever since Leclerc had his downfall, and he's just been taken out single-handedly by the safety car. It's like Austria all over again, but the difference is it's a virtual safety car right now because of the collision Schumacher had with the actual safety car, if you get what I mean. This safety car isn't meant to be here. It's not even warranted. We're not full yellows. It's a VSC, not a full safety car, and yet Bert Mylander is driving this Aston Martin around the circuit, and while the virtual safety car ends, look at this, it's still driving! Unbelievable! What is going on in this race? This is the worst and the biggest glitch I have ever seen and experienced myself on F1 22. This is just a freeze frame of the chaos here. So at this point, the virtual safety car had ended. We were green flag racing, and yet the safety car, the actual one, the physical one, was out there still driving around the circuit. And the way the AI are coded, they don't want to, you know, they don't go flying past them because they're very cautious about the safety car. So we're all stuck. It's as if we're under an actual full course yellow, but we're not. It's green flag racing, and we're all bunched up. There's 3 wides going on, 2x2, so many 2x2s, and I think Tsunoda has flown by the safety car at this point into the lead. So this is a huge glitch. Basically, the safety car, I think it never came in from the actual safety car period we had on lap 10, or maybe it did come in and then came right back out and went straight back out the pits basically as it went into the pits when it was meant to. I've never experienced this before. I have seen this before from some F1 game Reddit videos we've done where this has been a glitch online, but I've never seen it or experienced it myself offline. So a huge glitch has occurred in this race, and the safety car, I don't know when it's going to come in or if it's going to come in. It is just simply now driving and racing us as if it's another car on the grid, the 23rd car on the grid. So that's my assessment of the situation. So we cut back to the action here and look at this. This is absurd. This is just unacceptable. What is going on? We're all bunched up. A couple of cars are making their way through, but I daren't be too aggressive with any moves on these cars being held up by the safety car because it could easily end up in a crash base. We go round the outside. We're going to try and make our way around the safety car. We get blocked off, ironically, by it, and a whole load of cars have gotten through. Some are still stuck behind the safety car, but all chaos has broken loose. I think Sonoda is now leading this race. We've got Magnussen, Sargent, some Red Bulls, and Aston Martin and Perez ahead of us. Schwartzman and the Ferrari is now directly behind me. Yellow flags behind as I think someone is taken out by the safety car. Still driving around, by the way. I think Norris has got up into P5 at this point, so we're still going on, but now it's a huge unknown of what on earth this race is going to end up looking like, because Verstappen is now out of the Grand Prix. We're down to 18 runners, and now we've got another virtual safety car, and what I think is happening is, I think the safety car is glitched, and it is just driving around at that slow pace, and every time an AI catches it at full pace, it's either being taken out by it, or the AI car is slowing up and getting stuck behind it. And so we're going to get a whole bunch of concertina effects where we're all going to catch the safety car effectively. As we're now up into P9, we've only got, a third of this race left to go. But I feel like in the third of the race we've got left, everything is going to change completely. Because look at the mini-map. All the cars are getting bunched up because I suspect that's where the safety car is. This safety car isn't even acknowledged on the minimap. But look at this, 3 wide. Sonoda from the race lead is now down to P7. Sainz and Alonso overtake him either side of him. We get Sargent and, oh God, that was a bit of carbon fibre. Someone broke their wing. I don't know who it was. I think it may be Fernando Alonso. But Sainz and Sargent and Sonoda all held up behind the safety car. Alonso, I think he's got no front wing, so he's coming in now. He's broken his front wing off the safety car. So all of a sudden, just within half a lap, I've gone from P9 to P5. Norris is now up to P4, Piastri P3. I don't even know who's leading the race at this point. 12 laps to go. And at the same time as all of this, by the way, we've got tyre wear to contend with. Oh, Hamilton's out. Oh, blood. He was recovering so well. Hamilton was up to about P11 in this race. He had such a good recovery, and now he's been taken out by, I suspect, the safety car, as now Piastri's off in the gravel. That's not to do with the safety car, though. That's just on his own accord. He's made a mistake. He's locked up. Piastri in the gravel, and all of a sudden we're up into P4 now. Norris P3. Dragovic is the one in P2, and first place is a Mercedes of George Russell, I think. Is it? Yes, it is. But now for no longer, because the safety car is backing us all up now again. We're going to try and make a few cheeky moves. Hulkenberg's there, who's been lapped. This is chaotic, and by the way, as I overtake the safety car there, we've also got to contend with some gearbox issues. I've got no second gear, I think, and that's changing as we go on through the race due to the gearbox wear, but through all of this chaos, on lap 23, it's the usual suspects 1 and 2. Myself and Norris battling out for the race win until lap 25. We catch Russell, who's now been lapped, by the way. Poor chair as well. Norris has been held up by the safety car. We almost crashed into Russell. This is turning into an absolute farce of a Grand Prix. Norris is held up by the safety car, and all of a sudden, it's myself versus Carlos Sainz, the other Mercedes, fighting for the race win. Pourchaire is being lapped here in the McLaren in P11. And yeah, it's myself versus Carlos Sainz then. Sainz, he actually has some decent pace here, because in a straight line, without DRS for me, the Mercedes is gaining and might go for a move. We go defensive to the inside, Sainz on the outside, good bit of defensive work to keep P1, but for how long are we going to keep P1? Because eventually I'll be the race leader that catches the safety car, and we need to watch out for it. There is the safety car up the road. It's holding up someone who's already lapped. Sainz is side by side with me. We're side by side with the safety car. We were 3 wide, me, Sainz, and the safety car racing on that lap. That was incredible. Lap 30, we're trying to re-overtake Sainz because he did get us into turn 2. A little bit of a wobble for him on the rear end. We do overtake him, but we go wide at the hairpin with a lock-up because look at the tyre icon on the bottom right. Orange tyres. So we've had not only this safety car glitch, we've had tyre wear to contend with, pretty bad tyre wear, and myself, personally, I have a gearbox issue. that is, you know, randomly selecting gears that I can't select, basically, through this race. And through all of it, Carlos Sainz is actually looking pretty damn good. We bang tyres. I check my front wing for damage. There is none. The Ferrari of Schwartzman overtakes me here. He's lapped, but I overtake him, and I get given a legal position. How does that work? How have I got a legal overtake on a lapped car? A P9 lapped car. We overtake Pourchaire, but clearly what has happened here is an absolute farce. A farce of a Grand Prix. If this was real life, the FIA would be on fire. Everyone would be cancelling the FIA, the race director, Bert Mailander. This would be the most controversial F1 race in F1's history if this was real life. And after all of this chaos, on the last lap of the Grand Prix, Sainz gets taken out by the safety car, and he takes out me because his car was sideways on the racing line onto the last lap. So yeah, that's how our race ended. It ended a DNF and my game crashed. So that's why there was no replay cameras, by the way, this entire race. You may have wondered why we had replays for the sprint but not the full Grand Prix. It's because my game crashed as soon as I retired into the splash page for the results. It crashed. So we had no way of watching back it through replay cameras. We just have the onboards, but the onboards were crazy enough. What a complete farce of a Grand Prix. Unbelievable. It's almost like this game knows it's on its way out and it's just decided to give up with its coding.
They take the checkered flag then here in Imola in what has been another outstanding Grand Prix. What do you think it was today, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition?
Well, you know what they say, to finish first you have to finish. And that fact was clear today, with lots of retirements having a big effect on the outcome of the race. As a driver, you tend to keep reliability concerns to the back of your mind and just focus on what's in front of you. But for the teams, races like this can be very stressful.
Haas are no doubt happy with today's performance, having secured the win here this weekend, and our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations as we speak.
So through all of that, Oscar Piastri takes the race win in what is, well, if this was real life, the most controversial Grand Prix ever in history. Norris got through for P2 after being held up previously, because I assume the safety car held up more people after it crashed Sainz and myself out, and Drugovich got P3 in the end. Madness. Well, through all of that, Piastri gets his second win of the season for Repsol Haas. But we lose ground in the championship because obviously Norris with with 18 points there. That's a big swing. Drugovich gains a decent amount. Tsunoda actually does a very solid job there through all of that. He comes home with 12 points. So that's going to be a good day in the office for him and Audi, kind of, you know, vindicating him a little bit at Audi. He's had a very, very strong weekend. The strongest he's had since that mid-season transfer. But Logan Sargent is another big standout. 10 points on the board for Andretti Honda from the rookie American driver. Unbelievable stuff there. Red Bull score, the Ferrari score. Yeah, just mental set of race results. Mental set of race results. And it means in the championship then, Lando Norris takes back the lead of the Drivers' Championship by a couple of points to myself. And then only a few back are Felipe Drugovich, Schumacher, Piastri and Leclerc, all very close together. So things are very much hotting up in the crunch time for this last stretch of the season off the back of what was probably going to be the most mental race we've had, not only in the season, but the whole series as a whole, all 7 seasons put together. Vettel Rennsport lead the way after a double no points finish for myself and Lewis Hamilton. So we've got some real work to do to come back at very consistent Vettel Rennsport cars. And look how close it is between Haas, Audi and Williams. Unbelievable how close it is for a Constructors' Championship with only a handful of races to go. But that has been a very weird Imola Grand Prix episode, guys. If you have enjoyed it, then be sure to hit the like button. Let me know if you've ever had a glitch like this, online or offline. I want to know, because it's the first time I've definitely experienced it in the history of the F1 games ever, really. So my jaw was on the floor for it. But yeah, made for a very, I don't know, weird and entertaining episode, but also a very farcical actual Grand Prix race in terms of an actual good race. But it is what it is. The F1 game can really throw up some big surprises sometimes, and F1 22 has thrown up its biggest surprise in its last month of being the current modern F1 game. But if you have enjoyed it, again, hit the like button. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.